Hey, what's going on? JD here, and this is the Daily JD. Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell button, share this stream so people know that you're here and you want them to join in the conversation. Of course, as always, in the comments there, you've got all my social media stuff so you can never miss an episode. I always tweet out before I go live. You can catch me at Pain Inc. on Twitter as well as Instagram, and of course, over on Twitch. Of course, I'm also Pain Inc. So how's it going, guys? Happy Tuesday. This is the last of the 4 episodes for the week and for a little bit. So I'm pretty excited, getting things ready. Things are starting to slowly come together. So super pumped about that. Just want to remind you as well that we are a Patreon supported stream. We have our Patreon supporters. Of course, we've got Mr. Matt Mort as well as Reviewy McReviewface. And of course, we've got Post-Traumatic Victory. They are all our sponsors on Patreon, as well as we have our sponsors on YouTube. We've got, of course, Josh WRB, as well as Mum's Universe. So thank you to all those guys for month after month supporting this stream, showing us much love. It is always greatly appreciated. And yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting day. Like I said, I've been super busy. I'm trying kind of a different setup. I've been watching a couple of the old streams. Good to see you, Dan. Thanks for joining us. Hola back. I've got just kind of a thing. I've kind of raised the laptop up. What I noticed is that a lot of time that I have to, in order to read the comments, I have to look down. So I find myself often looking down. So I've kind of elevated the laptop to hopefully make some little better eye contact with the camera moving forward. So today, of course, is Ask Me Anything. So you can ask me anything that you want, anything that you want to ask questions about, what I have going on. If you've got camera stuff, if you've got computer stuff, you got YouTube stuff, social media stuff, marketing stuff, you name it, you ask the questions, throw them in the chat. By all means, ask me anything and we will hit on that stuff. But as always, as is tradition, we do have some topics to talk about today, some things going on the wonderful world of the internet. We're going to talk a little bit about Ninja and how he's made history, as well as we're going to talk about some changing to essentially some stuff in YouTube gaming, as well as essentially I've got a new camera bag. It is probably my new favorite camera bag. For anybody that's a photographer knows that camera bags are one of those things that you just never seem to get the right bag, and you know, you can never have enough bags. When you start having more bags than your wife, you know you've got a problem, and I'm definitely in that ballpark. But I think I have found something that works for me really well, so I'm pretty excited for that. So again, by all means, at any time, throw your questions in the comments. I will definitely answer those as best I can, and we'll hit on a few topics as well. Good to see you, Crafters Cosplay. Thanks again for coming out to the photo walk the other night. I look forward to seeing your video once you get back from the Edmonton Comic Expo up there. I saw your lineup. Day 1 photographs. Day 2, it looks like it's Deadpool, Bob Ross, and then of course day 3, you've got the guy from Game of Thrones looking super sweet. So I hope you have a fantastic time up there, and preparations are running right along and going super well for you. I look forward to seeing all your photographs and pictures from the event. Yeah, I've never actually gone to Edmonton's Comic Expo. From what I understand, it's a little bit smaller than Calgary's, and you know, but still has a fantastic vibe and is still a lot of fun for everybody that attends. So I look forward to seeing all that. And I mean, you know, that's the thing. Comic Expo is always a good time. Lots of cool stuff and a lot of creative people around, whether that's artists. One of my friends from Edmonton, Cario, will probably be there. He is a fantastic artist. So if you are there, check him out. He used to come to Calgary and then cut Calgary out of his tour schedule. So I imagine he is just doing Edmonton at this point. But I think his Twitter handle, if I recall correctly, is I Draw Boobs on Twitter. So, you know, pretty easy to remember. So there you go. So like I was saying, some stuff going on in the terms of YouTube, and we'll get to that. First off, one of the interesting things is the man known as Ninja, who is best known for his game stream blowing up when he streamed Fortnite with Drake, has kind of hit another first. He's kind of, sort of the flagship guy of gaming on platforms. He was a Twitch streamer, blew up. He was streaming with Drake. His stream went mad. Essentially, he has crossed over into YouTube territory now. He is one of the most rapidly growing YouTube channels on the platform in terms of gaming, and now he has made history being the first gamer to be on the cover of ESPN magazine, which is a first. I mean, ultimately, esports is kind of taken off. For those of you who don't follow esports, there are universities in the States that are now assembling esports teams for university and putting them on scholarships. There's a lot of money backing it. These events are getting huge, with huge followings, especially in Asia. These guys are sort of legendary. Places like Korea, it's a viable professional living being a professional gamer. So it's, super crazy. It's crazy that sort of mainstream, anytime that, something like this crosses from the digital world to, kind of the normal real world, in the sense that ESPN being a sports magazine, that something happens like this, it just sort of legitimizes what's happening. I mean, a lot of people still kind of look at esports as not really being a sport. They kind of still frown upon video games, but I mean, this adds a sort of legitimacy to essentially esports and what is going on. So, I mean, again, fantastic to see that, things are going well. It's obviously going to draw a lot more traffic in, as well as, it sort of goes out more into the mainstream. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Again, sort of history being made with Ninja on the cover of ESPN magazine. Hey, good to see you, Nick. Thanks for dropping in. Craftsman says, yeah, man, the prep work is kind of crazy. So much stuff to pack and have to be ready for the expo. I honestly can't even imagine, doing cosplay and the amount of work that goes into that, as well as, sort of being prepared, and getting dressed and wearing it all day long, and, the costume repairs. And, it's very, very interesting, how much work goes into it. I would say, actually, like I said, I've done the Comic Expo for essentially years, and at the end of the day, I'm busy there, but I operate a booth. There's effort that goes into that, but nowhere near the effort to dress myself up for 3-4 days straight. I just kind of bring all my artwork down and peddle it is kind of what I do. So, big props to you there, Craftsmith, for doing that. Nick says, did he sign some sort of huge contract or some such? Well, he made the cover of essentially ESPN magazine, and again, it's just sort of going out there, being picked up by mainstream media just draws more attention to sort of what is going on, and will ultimately draw more people in. So it is a first. It is the first time that a gamer of any sort and a non-athlete has really been on the cover of ESPN magazine. That's usually reserved for, Heisman Trophy winners and, elite athletes and, people that are in massive physical shape. And of course, they're looking at esports. So, I mean, it's just kind of legitimizing esports as a, sort of brand, as a thing. I mean, I know there's a lot of upstart leagues. So, I mean, obviously you're going to see esports leagues starting on, and it's going to be an interesting phenomenon as this, sort of what used to be sort of a subculture thing grows and, sort of expands out into the mainstream. So, again, congratulations to Ninja for essentially doing a first in terms of ESPN magazine. So some other stuff that is going on. Of course, we've got YouTube again. We always kind of end up talking about YouTube on this stream, but YouTube also putting out a great deal of stuff today in terms of YouTube gaming. So YouTube gaming has its sort of new home. It's had this home for a while. If you type in youtube.com/gaming, you will get to the new sort of front page of YouTube gaming. So they've revamped it. They've put some live feeds on the top. It reminds me a lot of Twitch in a lot of ways. And they also released some stats, and they're also doing some things to bring some attention to YouTube gaming as a whole. So they're going to do away with the app. I guess the app is going to go the way of the dodo. They're going to retire that shortly. But essentially, they are investing definitely some energy into the YouTube gaming community, and that is a lot to do with the numbers. So, I mean, basically you have 2 million plus people that are going on YouTube gaming. You've got 200 million plus active members. So, I mean, that is a huge number of people. If you want to look at, by comparison, Twitch, I think, has something along the lines of 30 million active users a month. So, I mean, that is significantly, it's almost 10 times more than what you will have on Twitch. So the user base on YouTube is significantly bigger. So, I mean, the fact that they're now pushing this and promoting this, I think you're going to see some exponential growth for creators that are YouTube gamers and streamers creating, that kind of video content, especially the live streamers, because, YouTube gaming is heavily revolving around that. We've seen YouTube gaming get things like the sponsorship button a lot earlier than other creators. We've seen the super chat things involved there. This is all a response essentially to other gaming platforms like Twitch, Caffeine, and some other smaller, sort of streaming networks that are out there. So, YouTube is definitely putting in the effort. Basically they have 50 billion plus hours of people watching content, which is absolutely insane. And now they're basically adding a feature. They're, sort of up and coming gamers that you can basically be put on and boosted on that main page, sort of like the trending page that's available on YouTube, but obviously a base where they're looking to promote people to get them further ahead. So, I mean, very difficult for any you or I to sort of hit trending, where, hitting YouTube gaming's, sort of featured up and coming gamers might be a little more attainable for various streamers. So it's very interesting to see them put all these resources into that. I mean, it's definitely a response to Twitch. I know that Twitch was doing very, very well, sort of when YouTube was in its little bit of a dark spot, when a lot of people, with demonetization, were very unhappy, sort of jump ship. So I think YouTube is trying to, sort of woo them back into, the YouTube sphere. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all rolls out. Nick says, well, Poker Tour cover on ESPN and MTG, etc. makes sense. Hey, good to see you, Pete. Thanks for joining in. So yeah, I mean, if you're a YouTube gamer and you're a streamer, or if you enjoy gaming, just know that you can go to youtube.com/gaming, drop in there, and you will see definitely a different layout and, sort of different notifications. A lot of times your subscriptions that are to gaming channels will show up there, and it will kind of kick out everything else. So, your other subscriptions to vloggers or, do-it-yourself channels or whatever you happen to watch otherwise won't be on YouTube gaming. It's all strictly towards gamers. So I think that's super cool. It will be interesting again to see how this helps certain YouTubers. And, again, it's just sort of growing the community, and it's good to see. So again, today is Ask Me Anything. If you do have any questions, please do throw them in the comments. That's kind of what I have for news today, other than the fact that, again, this week coming up, starting this Friday, is, of course, Calgary Pizza Week. So if you're looking to do a collab with somebody, that might be a good opportunity. It runs a week. It is a good, it's a good cause as well, because a portion of the proceeds of the pizza sold during that time goes for Meals for Wheels, which helps get, meals out to people who can't necessarily cook for themselves or have accessibility issues. So that is always super cool, as well as, essentially, there is the YYC Music Awards on Sunday, which I will be at. I will be at both the pre-warm-up party, which is sponsored by ATB, and then I will be at the event itself taking photographs obviously, of the winners as well as the performances there. So that will be my thing. Do I like cheese? Yeah, cheese is good. I can't complain. Cheese is not a bad thing. I don't try to eat a ton of it anymore, but I have no opposition to cheese on my pizza. I'm not lactose intolerant or anything like that. So, I'm all for cheese, although cheese isn't necessarily the best thing for you probably when you're my age. So there you go. So I'm just curious as well what other projects you guys have going on, what you have happening, what you kind of want to see for upcoming community events. I imagine that I still haven't heard anything from Calgary video creators on what's happening with their coffee thing. No announced time, no announced place. So, and that's apparently happening in the next day or so. So, I'm not sure what's happening there. Nick says, Peter Freeze cooking and baking. That's some funny shit. Got to have my cheese, John. I'm not sure what's going on. I must have missed something there. But other than that, like I said, I do have some stuff. I have picked up a new camera bag, essentially, as well, which I'll show you in a bit. Have you ever tried government cheese from the U.S.? I have not tried the government cheese. I've heard about the government cheese, but I have not tried it. Cheese is cheese. Even canned cheese is cheese, so who knows? But I have picked up, like I said, a new camera bag. I have found this actually fairly decent. I don't know about you guys, but camera bags are one of those things that kind of piss me off most of the time, is that no matter what bag I seem to get, ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't seem to be able to get the loadouts in that I want. And this one has kind of done something that my other bags don't do very well, and that's basically hold the Trinity. So that's basically the 15 to 30, the 24 to 75, the 70 to 200 in the camera, and as well as what I need. So there you go. So essentially, this is the new bad boy. It's still got the tags on. There'll probably be a video at some point. So this is the Peak Designs sling. So it has everything in there. It's nice and compact. It'll throw on my back. It's probably going to be my go-to camera case, which means that I'll probably be getting rid of some other ones. So if you want to use bag, by all means, shoot me a message. I do have a few, which are good bags as well, that have been running, sort of the gambit for quite a while. But this definitely is going to do the job from this point forward. I'm just happy that I can get all my stuff in there, as well as a pro body and grip attached. So that is super awesome. That's usually what causes me the problems, to be honest, is that if you have a smaller camera, my camera bags work great, but the moment that you add the grip, you add so much size, and it just kind of takes up space, as well as the vast majority of my lenses are very big. Especially, the 15 to 30 and 70 to 200, they're just massive lenses, so they take up a huge amount of space. And this one does it in a very compact form, which is really awesome because that's what I always look for. But, again, you kind of need like a magical bag, something that looks really small. You can throw stuff and it continues to take stuff and not be a massive thing. Basically, I have that so that I can do basically a day pack. I do have my backpack, which I also love from F-Stop Gear, which is phenomenal, and I love that bag, and I will never get rid of that bag, even though it's beaten to hell, and it has taken a ton of abuse, and it has protected my equipment royally, and it's waterproof and a whole bunch of stuff, so those are kind of the two bags that I kind of actually ultimately recommend. My concert bag, still phenomenal. I had that out at the photo walk. I still enjoy that. It has a little light in there, but I will probably be letting that go because this one will be taking its place. And then I have my stealthy kind of shoulder bag, so I look like a businessman more than a photographer, so I don't get, sort of mugged on the way. And, that's kind of where we're at camera bags. So I'll probably have a video at some point showing you what I put in my camera bag generally, as well as why I like the bag and how it's all set up. But that remains for another day. Just super excited that I finally got it. It's still got the tags on because I actually picked it up yesterday, and I wasn't sure if it was going to work. Basically bought it saying, hey, if this doesn't work, is it cool if I bring it back? They were all cool with that because I just wanted to see if my loadout would work. So there you go. Going back to the comments, old preserved cheese. I'm sure the government cheese is awesome. It is a very nice bag. I do appreciate it. Nick says, check out Bragalicious Rex over here. My lens is so big, I need a special bag. Sorry, got to get my head out of the gutter. You're you're standing on my head. There you go. Do you have any emotional baggage? No, but I do have emotional attachment to some of my camera bags. They've been through a lot. Like I said, they protect my gear. They have some good stories behind them as well, some of them. So, I mean, super, super cool. But, yeah, it's I'm looking forward to that. And the other thing that I like about the bag as well is the fact that for those of you who use the capture clips to basically attach your camera when you're not throwing it in the bag is super helpful as well. It does have the attachment there, of course, because Peak Design makes both the bloody things. So, I mean, it should be fairly well integrated. But like I said, I just like the fact that it is small, it's compact. I'll be able to get around, and it's nice to have something that's a little bit more discreet and a smaller footprint and easy to use and all that kind of stuff. So super stoked to use that, versus basically a 10-liter bag versus like my 65-liter backpack. It gets a little heavy walking around, and when you're in things like the MRT or the Transit or C-Train, most people don't appreciate a big, massive fucking backpack, in there, and it's kind of a pain in the ass too, and it gets jostled and all that kind of stuff. So there you go. Is your camera bag bigger on the inside? That's a crazy thing. When I saw it, I'm like, there's no way that this is going to fit everything, and it does. It's just really well designed in that, functionally it works really, really well. It's just kind of the angle of the thing. It just, they've designed it really, really well. I can't say enough good things about it. And just so you know, they're not paying me to say this. I paid full price for that. And, it was just kind of like, okay, hopefully this works. Part of the appeal of it is that, when I travel, I either travel with a roller that is basically a camera roller, which is fit so I could bring it on the airplane. It's that perfect size that it always fits in the case. And then of course it's loaded with camera gear. So I will either do that, or I will have sort of the backpack, which is sort of the same deal, which also has an internal camera unit, which stores all the gear. But ultimately, the nice thing about this is it can be flattened, so it can be packed quite easily and then expanded, and it's all good. It's not one of these bags. I've tried before traveling with a different bag, and it just doesn't pack down well, and then you got to do weird shit like put your underwear and socks in there to try to save some space, and it just gets out of hand. And this will hopefully work, and we'll see. I mean, obviously, I'll be vlogging all the way through, and as well as, have subsequent videos, and, it'll just kind of be real life. And then I'll have, sort of a better, video when I get back in regards to some of the stuff that I'm doing, because I've added some different things. I'm going about some things some different ways this time around, just because I have to sort of travel with a more compact form because we didn't get funding. So I've got to do things a little bit different in terms of what gear I can bring and how much gear I can bring. I had to sort of downsize what was going on. So ultimately, at the end of the day, should make some for some interesting videos. So there you go. So if you do have any other questions, by all means, throw them in the comments. Let me know what you guys want to talk about, or if there's anything you want to talk about at all. Are you going to do semi-daily vlogs from Asia? Yes and no. So what's going to probably happen is, generally speaking, when I do trip vlogs, they're daily. I will kind of do a daily thing. I plan on hopefully doing that again. So it should cover all the days that I am there. There may be some gaps in between because there is some organization stuff that I have to do, and I have to do some certain things that might cut into that, which will make for shorter vlogs. Or what I typically do on a normal basis is compressed week vlogs. So I will put a couple days in a row. When I'm here and I do vlog, typically it is a week compressed into one video. It makes it look like a day, but generally it's a couple days. Or sometimes it is a day. Just, sort of, I don't want to, bore you with a lot of the stuff. Like, here's JD sending emails. So I imagine it's going to be fairly hectic. So it's going to be interesting to see how that filming goes in. And plus, I am there with a bunch of people that are not necessarily used to the camera, although they are fully aware, number one, that a documentary is being filmed, and number two, that even when I'm not filming a documentary, I'm filming myself. So they are acutely aware of that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out as well. It'll be interesting to watch, I think, as well, how certain people react to the video as well. Because when people are first on camera, when there's first cameras getting pointed in their face, it makes people very nervous, and I understand that, from that perspective. But it'll be interesting as things sort of progress. Eventually, I think they're just going to ignore it. I think day 1 and 2 will probably be like get the camera out of my face kind of stuff, and then after that, they're just going to forget that it's even there a lot of the time. A lot of people, they just kind of forget that. So it will be interesting. But I do plan on having sort of daily vlogging. Will it be published daily as I am there? Probably not. I will try to do some live streams as well from time to time. Who knows how that's going to work with the time difference, if anybody even shows up. But, it's just an opportunity to drop in, say hello maybe, or even, watch it on replay. Or, in my case, maybe potentially pick up a different audience, because I will be in Singapore, and I'll be curious to see how the YouTube algorithm handles that, from streaming from a different country and, doing different things and publishing to YouTube from a different part. So it'll be an interesting thing. It's an interesting experiment for me all the way around. So we will see. Did you see my fish and chip video that I tweeted you? I did not. I think the last thing I saw from you, Pete, was you tweeted me an article about fish and chips that I went to read and I couldn't read. And, you were being a tosser, so you didn't even read it before you sent it to me, about the best fish and chips in the UK. But I haven't seen that yet. It might be on my phone. I have been lacking a little bit in social media as of late. That's just because I have been bogged down and super busy. My phone is going off consistently. For example, Sunday, there were some logistic problems that came up where we didn't have basically a hotel for 5 days. So we had to hammer that down. So it took me like 4 hours, multiple phone calls all over the place to try to hammer down basically 6 rooms for everybody that's involved. So it's which is difficult, especially when it's not that far away. It becomes very difficult to get all those things in a centralized place and hammer stuff out. Some of the other logistical stuff has been hammered out, so that's super good. So we'll see. And some of the other stuff is coming together quite nicely. So it's going to be an interesting process all the way around. So it'll be fun. But I will definitely take a look, Pete, at my Twitter when I have a moment here after the stream, and take a look at the video that you sent me. I assume that that is of you cooking fish and chips once again. So it'll be cool to see that, and I know your family is super into it, which is awesome, because like I said, with that video that we did way back then, I had not cooked fish and chips in a long time, not since I had stopped working at that fish and chip shop. So, and that was years ago. Like, that was one of my first jobs ever in life, was working in a fish and chip shop, and, basically cooking fish and chips. So it's surprising when you do something so much, so often, that you can still kind of remember it, years and years later after never ever doing it. So if you have any other questions, by all means, throw it in there, and ask away. I have rides against this week on Thursday, so that should be fun. It's been almost a year since I photographed them, so I'm looking forward to that. Again, the music awards, that will be super fun as well. But generally just trying to, kind of wrap things up and get things down, and just trying to get things organized and packed and, into hard cases, and, get everything itemized and numbered, and make sure that, all the ducks are in a row, and that hopefully I haven't forgotten something, because it's guaranteed I will probably forget something along the way. Who knows what that'll be. All passports and all that kind of stuff are done. All the permits are all in order. So that is all awesome. And, yeah, it's just, slowly moving forward. So if you guys don't have any more questions, that's probably it for me today. Appreciate you guys dropping in. I still find myself looking at the computer screen. Hopefully it makes me look like I'm looking at the camera. Maybe I should mount the camera on top of the computer when I do it this way. Maybe that'll work a little bit better. I'm not sure. Again, it's always a work in progress here. If you could see my office, it is like... I talk about it every day. It is a disaster, and it is a massive disaster. Oh, that's the other thing that I did want to say. I do want to put it out there that if anybody that may have a small drone that I can borrow, whether it's a Spark or a DJI Mavic, let me know. That would be greatly appreciated. I had the new Mavic Pro 2 on order with the Hasselblad camera. It is not going to arrive before I leave, which leaves me, well, kind of fucked in that department. The only thing that I can hope to do is actually pick one up when I'm over there, and that's kind of the plan at this juncture, unless somebody can loan me it, and whatever, and that would be greatly appreciated. But, who knows? We will see how it goes. Do you have to have a permit to vlog in Singapore? No, I have to have a permit to film in Singapore. So the documentary and all that, I need basically a permit to do that. So that is all crazy, but that is all done. And Singapore is not a place that I want to specifically mess around in. Vlogging is just, to me, like tourist stuff. So, I'm just going to go with the tourist thing, because that's really what I am. I'm just a tourist there for a couple-day event that I'll be filming, and then I'll be off to Malaysia anyways. So we will go from there. Essentially I wanted to get some good drone shots, especially of Malaysia. Singapore has some very, very tight drone rules, but there's still some opportunity there. Obviously, one of the things that I will say in terms of drone usage is that I honestly believe that you have to be as responsible as you can, when you are doing, things like drone shots. And when you go to another country, it's like, familiarize yourself with the law, make sure that you're not breaking it, and do the best you can to do everything by the book. Because, especially when you're putting it out there, ultimately, at the end of the day, you're influencing people, and people will, see that, and they will go emulate or duplicate it. So do that. I will have to say I have been a strong critic of Casey Neistat and Peter McKinnon for doing that and breaking drone laws. But I have to say that I'm impressed with both. Casey has started to, implement, a strategy where, because I think people were actually complaining, and he was getting himself in trouble, where, he is responsibly flying his drone, and Peter McKinnon doing the same thing, because he was just recently out in Banff in this past week here, filming there at a place like Moraine Lake, where it is 100% illegal to fly a drone. And of course, he mentioned that in his video, which I think was super responsible. So that is going. I might be able to get a Phantom 2. That's probably too big. Yeah, I was looking for something come back, Nick. I do have the Typhoon, which is a big drone as well. Like I said, I'm trying to cut things down. I had hoped that the new DJI Mavic drone would show up prior to my departure. It was supposed to, but I got confirmation today that it absolutely is not. I do have the Typhoon, which is a large drone, which is probably actually still superior video quality wise to what I would have in the DJI. But essentially, at the end of the day, you know, I don't want something that is that massive to tote around. It's just going to be extremely, you know, sort of inconvenient for the shots that I would get, and sort of the cost as well, the additional cost of getting it there, getting it back, and, you know, lugging this thing around it would be stupid. So I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, like if things don't pan out, I will probably pick up a if I can find one there. Singapore is very technologically sort of ahead of us, you know, things like cell phones and all that kind of stuff. They tend to be on the cutting edge of things. So I think I will be able to accumulate one either there or, you know, close by. I should be able to get it fairly quick is kind of my hope. Nick says, well, again, you're arguably got the most famous YouTuber breaking the law. Talk about a bad actor. Why aren't they demonetizing him? Because, well, I don't think that YouTube essentially really cares at the end of the day. I mean, we had that whole Sun thing last week, and I mean, that video still is out there. And I honestly believe at this juncture that that stuff doesn't matter. You know, it only matters when people complain. It only matters when it's convenient. You know, and it's, you know, they're just going to kind of arbitrarily do whatever they want. I think a lot of the time, which is kind of sad. You know, and YouTube will say, well, that's not our business. We don't know if you're filing illegally. I mean, it's you know, and nobody can actually tell unless you are there and you ask for the permit and he fails to provide, and so on and so forth. You know, but essentially at the end of the day, you know, it's you know, most people know, like when you go as a Canadian and I go out and I take a drone and I go downtown Calgary and I fly it about over roads and all sorts of stuff, generally speaking, you can probably pretty much guarantee that I am doing that illegally. You know, you can get permits for those kind of things, but they're very difficult and very expensive. So, you know, it's just, it's interesting how it all sort of goes. But I mean, it's like anything, you know, people break the law all day long kind of thing. And it's whether or not they get caught ultimately. And I don't think YouTube would ever enforce that. So there you go. The golden rule, right? He who has the gold makes the rules. Absolutely. And I mean, to be honest, as far as YouTubers go, I mean, it's obvious that people like Casey Neistat and, you know, Peter McKinnon are currently the poster boys of YouTube. I mean, they are definitely, you know, in a lot of ways, squeaky clean content creators. They don't even so much as cuss. They don't, you know, drink or anything like that on their videos. I mean, they are pretty straight-laced as far as it goes. So, I mean, you know, they're not going to go after these guys. I mean, it's, you know, there is a lot worse stuff that is monetized on YouTube. You know, you will see everything from like the halal pranksters that, you know, dress up as bombers and scare people and, you know, all sorts of crazy stuff. A lot of it fake, a lot of it, you know, really, really stupid and, you know, just not adding value. And that stuff exists as well. And like I said, even with the Calgary Sun stuff, apparently you can, you know, murder somebody on YouTube and you can post it up there as a news story. They might not get monetized for it via YouTube, but it's allowed to exist there, which still ultimately blows my mind, you know, and I think that's, you know, problematic with the platform in a sense that, you know, there's kind of this really kind of weird flexibility that exists. You know, to me, that stuff should be cut and dry, but at the end of the day, it is absolutely not. You know, it's a much different kind of space than honestly I thought it was. So there you go. So other than that, I don't have a ton of stuff for you guys. Hopefully you're having a fantastic week. I will catch you guys tomorrow. We'll be back, of course, as is tradition. Again, if you are still here, smash that like button. So give this video a thumbs up. It definitely does help us. And thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, see ya.